Well, and we're live. Welcome back, everyone, to the HVAC 2.0 show. Gathered here, we got Ken and Ronnie with us today, and we got T hiding behind the drill sergeant again. Well, how's everybody doing?
It's dark. When did daylight savings time start?
Yeah, it's definitely dark out here as well.
Dark here.
Too damn early. That's when. Yeah.
Another couple of weeks, and then it'll be really dark.
Yeah, I know. It's really going to suck.
Yeah.
I'll just be glad when the ads are over.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're in a swing state.
Yes.
I don't watch TV, so I wouldn't even see them.
I would like to not see them.
Well, I guess just, every 4 years you just have to be like, well, I guess we're not watching TV or anything. Just going to turn it all off.
Yep.
Turn it off.
That's what the mute button is for.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ronnie hasn't been here for a while. As he's giving a kiss to his wife.
Yeah, she just came home from work.
Nice. Shall we get some debriefs out of him first? What do you think, guys?
Sounds good to me. Ronnie's always got stories.
How about a couple of Ronnie stories?
I get all the crazy jobs, so I did get to go to and I did get to help test the house the other day, which was interesting.
Oh, that house with Austin.
Yeah, 10,000 square feet.
Ooh.
It was 9,951 square feet. The blower door number was like 10,300 on it.
Wow.
I guess that's not terrible for that home that big, but
yeah.
It was interesting though. It has 6 systems in it. One is a ductless that's doing the like this enclosed porch that's shaped like a hexagon or something. It's a really fancy porch. The main floor used to be done in one system, and they've split it into 2. But they left the 100,000 BTU furnace on one side of the system, and then they put a 60 on the other side. And the thermostats are like 5 foot apart from one another. So like one whole side of the house is super uncomfortable. So then the master bedroom's on the side with the 100K. It has 1,000 CFM of supply duct, by the way. And the 2 furnaces are sharing the return trunk line that was originally made for the 100K.
Oh.
So then the master bedroom has a secondary system where the upstairs equipment, they added a zone to it and put diffusers in the ceiling of the master. So it's being conditioned by 2 systems. And they're like, we almost have to run this one on cooling and this one on heating to make the room comfortable. But then that also
so they need a mini split in there as well.
They need something in there. There's this huge doggy door in the bedroom.
Don't forget ventilation.
Yeah. Huge doggy door in the bedroom, and there's 3 fireplaces in the house. You cannot close the dampers on any of these completely. They've put like a device on them because they're gas fireplaces. I guess they have to stay open
right. So it's
so
a
far.
code.
So they're actually tearing one of them out of the living room, and they're going to put this huge window in place of it.
Sometimes I see these big fireplaces right in the middle of what would be a beautiful view, and it just baffles me.
Yeah. But Austin and I have determined that, and not to mention, there's 2 infinity furnaces in this house and then some other furnaces. The infinity furnace has a non-communicating air conditioner on it. The non-communicating furnace has an infinity series air conditioner on it that's set up non-communicating. It's a very interesting house, and it's actually pretty simple to fix. I mean, basically, we need to drop the size of all of the systems. It has, and again, the one that has a 100,097, which is an MN7 furnace, probably should be a 60, probably with the 2-ton. The other 60 should probably have a 2-ton. The master bedroom, I've talked to him, and we're going to delete the main system of the home ferment, since it has a thermostat with a zone on the actual real Infinity system. It has a 2-speed 80 with a 2-stage air conditioner. But I've talked to Austin. I think he's going to propose 2 full combos, and then I think he's going to propose, or hybrid combos, or electric, and then I think he's going to propose putting a heat pump on that, like a green speed heat pump on that bedroom system, because they're getting just way too many BTUs of heat way too fast. Even with that MN7, it's just way oversized. I think it had like a 1.1 inch duct pressure in heating, so he's going to go back on the 31st.
That's a complicated comfort consult.
Yeah, I think that's why he asked me to do it with him. I didn't do any of the questions. I just helped do testing and look and helped him with like solutions, whatever. But I'll let him do all the. I didn't watch him originally. I arrived a little late intentionally so he could do the original question asking, and then once we got done with everything, like 5 hours later, 4 or 5 hours later, he sat down at the table with them, went over everything. They gave him like a $50,000 budget. I don't know if he can get it all done within that budget, but he can get a lot of it done. There's more stuff to the house as well that's a problem. But again, he actually set the date to come back and follow up with him while he was there. So basically what he's going to do is send him a report, and then or just go over the report with him. I don't know exactly, but he set the date for October 31st. He's scheduled out that far in comfort consults, by the way. And this was like Tuesday last week that I went with him. He's scheduled out to the 31st.
That's great.
Good.
Do you think,
pretty
do you
good.
think that's due to the season, or do you think that's due to the service techs?
All year he's doing them.
Okay, so service techs are just feeding him.
Yeah, and there's like 70 technicians were at his branch. So
okay, and they're trained up and they're doing their jobs well.
Yeah, and it's great because these techs, we actually have like a Max University that trains, like they come in for a month and just go to school at work before they ever start anything, and get paid to go to school for a month. And then they ride with technicians for like 2 weeks after that. And then they cut them loose as maintenance techs. In Kentucky, you can't do that. You have to have license. They get these guys EPA certified and everything in that class because the guy that runs the class is a proctor for the EPA. So he can give them the test and everything. So again, they teach them all this stuff. So these guys are not HVAC guys originally, and they're bringing them in, showing them the questionnaire and all that stuff, which I think is really cool that they're doing that. It'd be cool if they do that in Louisville, but I just can't because I think they should have to go to that class still. But they just bring guys in that are already licensed and trained however they were licensed and trained, which kind of sucks, but it is, state laws, etc. So, but that house, he also has another system that is controlling or heating and cooling the garage and the bonus room, which is not allowed to share a duct system. So I think he's gonna give them solutions on splitting that up too. But they didn't seem real concerned about the upstairs being comfortable or uncomfortable because they're not really going to live in that part of the home. But it's conditioned. I mean, I don't think it's terrible up there. The upstairs space, though, was like 35 pascals. It's like where a lot of the leakage was. So they got these exterior doors into the attic spaces that don't shut properly, and some basic stuff to make the house a whole lot less leaky.
Yeah, redefine those small
it's a pretty cool ordeal, though. So I'm happy to see how that pans out. I think they're going to do something because people acted like they were really into getting it fixed. They're going to live there for a long time. They're going to put a bunch of money in this house. So.
And were they pretty happy with the services you guys provided?
It's crazy to see things like that. Here's been pretty simple. I haven't had anything too crazy recently. In Louisville, everything's been pretty basic. So,
you want to talk about your year?
Mostly equipment and stuff like that. I've only done a couple comfort consults. One resulting in a new duct system and reinstalling a furnace. I'm going to do that tomorrow, the pre-install. Can you all hear me still?
I can hear you, but I don't think you can hear us.
Yeah, video's glitched out, but I can hear you.
Hello?
I think he's got a terrible connection. Well,
sorry, I had to leave the room. Was there any home testing done on this, Ronnie? If I missed it, or was this just a conversation with the owners?
It was a comfort consult. Austin does comfort consults.
Oh, okay.
That's primarily what Austin's job is, to take tech turnovers and do comfort consults.
All right.
Once in a while, he'll run a free quote, but that's, when the salespeople are getting plenty of leads. So the other thing we were going to talk a little bit about, maybe I'll present this. Was this stuff right here. The checklist that we're building to put at the end of the free quote intro, the 4 steps of the free quote before you get to building the ideal specification.
I don't know what happened there. Sorry.
Yeah, you went all glitchy.
Yeah, like I didn't even know for like a minute I was talking, then I noticed that nobody was moving. So,
well, we were able to hear you, but you weren't able to hear us.
Oh, okay.
But so you got all the way through, and the one question I asked was, how did they feel, even pre getting the report? How did they feel about the comfort consult?
Well, he asked them he asked them the question at the end, and they said that everything was great and it was very informative, and they couldn't wait to get the results from his report that he was going to send out.
That's great. So they were engaged and enthusiastic.
Both of them were engaged for part of it. One all the way through it. He has he worked from home, so he would get on these meetings and off and on, but he did go around and see some stuff with the house, and he has a pretty good understanding. He was there for some informative. When we were testing, he was kind of, preoccupied, but he did end up getting engaged.
Okay.
And spoke a little bit to us. So
your video is frozen again, Ronnie.
I couldn't hear you.
Your video is frozen, although we can hear you.
You might want to turn your video off, because it seems like you're probably getting more.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my internet.
Now you hear us okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine now. Yep.
Okay. So do you want to talk at all about how your year's going?
My year's been pretty good. I'm at like 3 million. I think I ended last year like 2.3, so I'm like 700,000 over that. They were giving me a lot more leads, so I'm getting like priority on leads and before the other consultants even. And that's from management. The manager basically said that if your revenue per lead, average ticket, and close rate were higher, that they, like, when we slow down, that they're going to feed the person that's doing better more leads than they're feeding the other people. So, which
Are
is not been,
are the salespeople able to understand the why behind that?
they are. One of them was kind of had a problem with it, and he's actually said he's retiring. He actually gave a 2-week notice, and then he said he was retiring afterwards.
Okay.
I personally don't think he is. I think that's just a tactic he's using, so we don't let him go, basically, right away.
Gotcha. Roughly, what was his revenue per lead?
Well, last month it was really bad. I think he did like 26 grand for the entire month, and he ran like 16, 20 leads or something.
So he got a good number of leads.
Yeah, I mean, he got as much as the other people. I mean, I think I ran 30.
So he ran 26 and got how much?
16, and
He ran
and sold 26.
He ran 16, sold 26. You ran 30 and sold.
It was 2 something. I'll have to look to get the exact number. I can't remember the exact number. It was well over my goal for the month. That's like that month and this month are pretty slow months for our
So
company.
you sold 10 times. You went on twice as many leads and sold 10 times as much.
Basically, yeah. But my average ticket was way higher too. It was like 16 grand. Last month I had really good average tickets.
Okay. So so understanding that the company spends money to get these leads and has a reasonable expectation of revenue out of each lead.
Yeah, they lost money on his leads for sure last month.
Right. They lost a ton of money giving him those leads over giving them to somebody who, gets, I mean, $4,000 revenue per lead is a pretty reasonable expectation, isn't it?
Yeah, and they brought a new guy on that last month was his first month I think he ran for like a week or two. And I think he did, I think his revenue per lead was like 5,500 or 6,000 or something.
Okay. So there you go. Somebody who can't even make 3,000 a lead is just, I mean, they've quit.
Yeah. I mean, he's like 65, and the managers wanting us to do like ride-alongs with one another and wanting us to, ride with service technicians and help coach people just to learn from one another and
get better.
He basically said that he wasn't participating in the ride-alongs.
Okay. That was a big old double middle finger.
Yeah, and then literally he said that at like 7:40 in the morning in a group message, and then noon the same day, dispatch informed me that he'd be riding with me to my afternoon appointment.
Oh, how funny!
And then he declined to go with me, which made the manager pretty mad too.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's our top home run salesperson. And you have an opportunity to run with him, and you decline because
well,
go to McDonald's or something.
I think I could even learn some things from him too, possibly riding with him, and that's the way it was going to be. He would ride with me, and then the following day I would ride with him. He would have actually got a lead the following day if he rode with me.
Oh,
as a reward for going with me.
Right. Wow. Okay.
So they have this month has been a pretty uptick from last month. We have ran, I feel like, more calls this month than last month as a whole at this point in the month.
That seems a little odd in the off season.
I thought so too. I know that they have a new marketing person at this company, and he's in Indianapolis. And he was advertising in markets we really don't even work in, which was, I mean, we do some work in those markets, but they're like outside of our service area. And they're not, nothing against the areas, but they're not very wealthy areas. So there's not going to be as much payback for advertising in those areas, if that makes sense. They're more rural areas. There's not as much population there. So, you know, advertising there really doesn't make a ton of sense. And then the general manager let him know, said, hey, you know, you need to focus on these areas. I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job, but this is the, you know, focus on Louisville as a whole, or even Southern Indiana. He's like, we don't advertise any in Southern Indiana. And that's like a hop, skip, and a jump, like 15 minutes from our office. Like, I don't know why you all don't advertise there at all. I don't get that. And I have ran a few Indiana calls recently. One converting like a pancake ceiling unit to a convention. He's going with a 5-speed heat pump system, and we're relocating it to like, you know, like an air handler in the floor type situation in a condominium.
Do you want to tell us the good news about Carrier?
Oh, so there's a few things. Heil and ICP brands will be getting a green speed heat pump now, not just a 5-speed.
Ooh,
which
that's
is
nice.
pretty big news for Heil, Tempstar dealers, other brands. They also will no longer be manufacturing a green speed air conditioner.
Oh,
So the
Makes a lot of sense, right?
the 5-speed will be converted to a full variable, and they will have an air conditioner option that it'll be a 25 or 26 VNA 0.
It's a shame they didn't just lean in and kill it in both of those.
I don't think they can. They have to be competitive against other brands. One other brand, when it trends to other brands, I think they'll do it eventually. But the new green speed heat pump will be a 27 VNA 3, and that is going to be a 23 SEER 2 heat pump, and it is going to be available in Heil, Tempstar, all the other major ICP brands, which is great for the. And
you like that, Ken?
Yes.
I mean, I particularly think it may hurt a little bit for me, but maybe not. At first, I was like, "Man, that sucks." They did it, but at the same time, it's for the greater good. It's good that they're doing it. But usually, like Heil dealers beat me in price. You know what I mean? So, I just again, people that are shopping for, I don't think I'll have a problem after thinking about it, but. But it's for the greater good. But I'm really, and I heard that from somebody we know at Carrier, so about the heat pumps and stuff. So, but yeah.
So I got a question here from FYT. Any opinion on Bosch or Daikin inverter heat pumps? They have very little market share here, but their systems are interesting. Just need to find a certified installer willing to install. That sounds sort of like a customer question.
Yes, I say, is this from a homeowner?
We've done a lot of the Daikin, like the Fitz inverter systems. They're really good heat pumps.
Yeah.
Bosch,
not so much.
Yeah, Bosch, you're going to have trouble with dehumidification, whereas Daikin, their controllers it's not the greatest, but they have integrated dehumidification into the controller where you can put the square footage of the home and how extreme you want to go with dehumidification, which is
I think correct me if I'm wrong, but the difference is one is non-communicating, so it's based on pressure.
That's Bosch.
And the other has some communicating features. And so really, if you're in a green grass climate, and you're going to get an inverter system, you really want to spend a little bit of additional investment to get it communicating.
Yes.
The Daikin's full communicating. The fit system is.
Yeah. Yeah, because once it's fully communicating, then it's purely up to the software programming of that equipment. That's then what determines it. But it has that option. When it's not communicating, it doesn't have that option to begin with. So you're just kind of,
It's
you're
working off
shooting
of
blindly.
suction pressure or something like that.
Yes.
And so it's going to try and keep your coil warm.
Yeah, it's going to try to keep it at whatever its set temperature is. Because they'll have dip switches to change it from I think the difference is just like a 37-degree coil or a 42-degree coil, something like that. But also in those scenarios, it's like it's still only looking at pressure, so it doesn't actually know what's going on the inside. And so, and it's one of those things where it's going to take some time to react. It's going to its main focus is really going to be like, don't grenade the compressor, don't feed back liquid. And when you do that, all of your margin of error is leaning towards less dehumidification. That's the byproduct of it. So it's just kind of the nature of the beast of, you can, if it's set up perfectly, and it's the right application, I'm sure you can get some use out of it. But for the most part, it's very difficult, especially for smaller houses.
Yeah, in my opinion, the full electric green speed heat pump through Carrier would be a better product than Daikin's, even though Daikin has a really great heat pump. And again, finding people that are qualified to work on Daikin has been a it's been a problem
on any brand. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Daikin, Bosch. We've had success with Bosch with a variable speed air handler and a thermostat that will provide a dehumidification setting so you can get 3 speeds in cooling.
Oh,
and that's worked well. But just because somebody has certification or they're on the website does not mean that they fully understand how to do all of this setup. You need, rather than being hung up on the brand, find a contractor who fully understands commissioning, dehumidification, airflow.
Yeah,
then
that's big.
get a good product. Yeah, it's not the brand name so much by any means.
Yeah.
So if you're remodeling a family member's condo for sale, I would suggest that, I mean, do you want to go beyond 2-stage? I mean, most people aren't even going to recognize that you've done them a favor if you put a 2-stage in.
Yeah. I mean, if you're doing it to sell, there's a reason why the flipped house market is just covered with like really shitty work. And I mean, it's just kind of like the worst house you can buy is a flip house, because all they're going to do is put the absolute bare minimum into it, just enough to make it look good to sell it. So, and there's a reason for that.
And our process would recommend that you make sure that you that you size your system to the ductwork. So don't oversize the system to the ductwork when you get the new system, because the new fans don't like to be attached to insufficient duct. And you're only getting the capacity that your ductwork allows anyway.
Yeah. You might want to ask at the supply house who's their best technical company. Find out if what they're selling.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get even their biggest seller who is just turning over a lot of boxes, could put in a system and have problems with it. You may end up with a smaller company who's specializing in making good on what they do.
Oh, I thought you said you were setting it up for selling.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that,
Dated condo for sale. It says
Yeah.
remodeling a family member's dated condo for sale. But then
Yeah, I
here
know.
you say it's a close family member, and you're not going to flip it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
And I-
it really makes a difference. Like,
have somebody assess.
oh
what-
well, if it's for selling,
already.
then yeah,
Oh,
you need to make it look good. You should spend the
Yeah.
money on making it look good, because any money, I mean, just like Jason says here, you won't see any return on investment for putting in high-end equipment.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also, it's like I would like to point this one out where he's talking about don't like overpriced, non-itemized quotes they got from conventional. Well,
It's
here's
not
the
going to be
thing.
itemized.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If you're going to be trying to buy based on price, um, it doesn't
That's
really matter
racist.
what brand you get because it's probably going to be botched to begin with. No one that I know that does really good work is going to be coming in and they're going to be giving you the cheapest price, or or they're going to be like, hey, you buy this and you buy this and then I'll come install it. Like when you start getting into weird stuff like that, most of the good guys, they have so much work they can do anyways, they're not going to really entertain that. And so if you're going to do it selling wise, and it kind of, from what I'm piecing together from some of these comments that you're leaving here, go in that route. If it's kind of like, I'm just trying to find the cheapest, really, I mean, maybe it's kind of hard to say, because it's like, I want to say maybe your best bet is just to, find get a single stage unit, try to size it the best you can, and hope they don't botch the install too bad, because then that properly sized system is going to seem like it's undersized because it's only doing 70% capacity for the poor install. That's kind of the juggle that you kind of play with that sort of thing.
Yeah, and if this is like a 800 or 900 square foot condo, I mean, what you really need is a 1.5 or a 2-ton heat pump
Mm-hmm.
with 6K backup.
Yeah.
One of those
Yep.
comments makes it look to me as though they wanted to buy the equipment. It says, I've been looking at systems I could purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're looking to buy it.
Find a
and
technician
have
to
somebody put
install
in.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You won't find a skilled technician who wants to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Well,
you're
That's
buying
1,800
equipment,
square feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find people to do it. That's not the problem. Finding someone that's good, a skilled technician to do it, that's where you're going to run into problems. Because I know if somebody calls me and they're like, hey, I've got the equipment, it's a what blah 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 system, how much would you charge me just to come install it? I'm going to be like, oh, what is it, a 2-ton system and it's pretty easy to get to? About 8 to 10,000. That's going to be my labor. And they're not going to like it, and then they're probably going to go somewhere else, because it's, when you go that route, it's just, for us as the contractor going that route, we just see red flags because of so many potential pitfalls. We show up, it's the wrong equipment. We show up, they got the wrong materials, or there's this and there's that. And when you start trying to go down this, pinching pennies, because I mean, not to sound abrasive to you, but when someone is trying to buy the stuff themselves and then have you install it, like, the only reason they would do that is to try to cut costs. They think that if I buy the equipment, I'm going to be able to get it cheaper, because now they're not going to charge me as much.
At the end of the day, if you're doing
It's-
it that way,
yeah.
you're going to get charged by the hour,
Yeah.
because these guys know that they're going to be like, oh, you're missing some parts, and then they're going to tell you to go get the parts, and
Yeah.
they're going to sit there and charge you. I mean, if it's a crew, if it's 2 guys on a crew, they got to charge you $200-300 an hour.
Yeah.
And so very quickly you go from, if you had everything and they got it done in 4 hours, well, you're great. It's under $1,500 for the install. You got no warranty, because
Mhm.
you are your own warranty station, and the guys, he didn't
And if you
provide
gotta have
the
a
equipment.
permit, then you're
Yeah.
probably not going to get a
Did
permit
you get the
either.
permit right? All
Yeah.
of these other, there's just so many things involved in.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if there's a problem, on the new install, are they going to answer the phone?
Probably not.
Only if you're paying them the $200 to $300 an hour.
Oh yeah, yeah. And see,
Yeah, I'll
because here's
come
the
back.
thing.
If it doesn't
Yeah.
work next week, it's
Yeah.
it's a service call.
Yeah, and the thing is that them charging that $200 to $300, that's your best case scenario. The worst case scenario is they say, "Oh no, we'll charge you $80 an hour," and then they run into all these problems, and they're immediately going to go from I'm gonna make $80 an hour. It's gonna be easy money. I'm gonna be in and out. We're gonna get it done right. To the first problem arises, and then you're like, oh well, I'm not paying for that, or some issue comes up, and then they're gonna be like, oh well, if that's the case, and I already told you, or maybe it wasn't an hourly rate, it was $1,500 to install it. The first problem that comes up, they're not gonna have any money in it to be able to fix it right. They're going to be just like immediately cutting corners to cut costs to save money, because they're going to figure out that they made a bad decision halfway through the project, and they're not going to say
they got
anything.
a job tomorrow, and they got a job the next day, and they
Yeah.
got a job the next day. So their comeback is like a
Yeah.
week and a half.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what? You're not going to be able to come back for a week and a half? It's like, what do you think? We just had your job as the only thing we had all month?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Controlling costs means you're not looking at the quality. We're looking at it from the standpoint of quality. If you're trying to minimize costs,
this is why you need a single stage. Get a single
great
stage.
many of us won't deal with you.
Yeah, get a single stage 2-ton heat pump for that 1,800 square foot condo.
Actually,
and just get it sold as quick as possible.
Well, actually, I would say take it for don't do any of that. Go to Lowe's, get a Mr. Cool DIY mini split, and slap that joker in and call it a day.
Have at it.
Because
if the equipment works, don't even replace the equipment, because you're not going to get your money back for the equipment.
Yeah.
And if I were buying the house, I'd rather have old equipment anyway than brand new equipment.
Yeah. Show Jason's comment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, because see, here's the thing. When it comes to like it's pinching pennies or managing costs, like I get the whole point is that you're seeing it as this price is very high, which it is, and you're going, that doesn't make sense. The only reason that could be happening is that they're just marking it up just because they can. I understand that. The only problem is
it's a competitive market.
Yeah, but the only thing is, from us as a contractor point of view, I've seen the end result of when that doesn't pan out, when people try to manage cost and they want to get it as cheap as they can. Look at the current new construction landscape. Go to any cookie cutter house, new construction, and take a walk through and realize, why are all of them so poorly put in? Every one of them. They're all oversized. They all sound like jet engines, and they might live 10 years. Why is that? Well, it's because those builders they're managing cost. They're controlling cost. That's what they're doing. And so you will get people to do it for less. That will happen. The only problem is when those people get into the middle of it and they realize that they made a mistake, or maybe they haven't figured it out. They just figured out, oh, the way that I make money at doing this is I come in and I take these cheap jobs and I cut every corner I can. I use I use tape. I use the cheapest tape I could find. I don't use any metal ever. If we run into a problem, we just patch it up and we make it work. It's like there's all these little things that they build up, and that results into a bigger problem. And now if you're selling the house, sure, you can probably get away with it, because that problem is just going to get rolled over into the next person that buys the house. If that's the route you want to go about it, that's more power to you. But just know that the money that went into that install is going to cost more money in the long run than what it had to been if you pay the money to have it done right to begin with. And I say that from experience because I've went behind people and I've seen that cheap install that, hey, Bobby's uncle's cousin said they'd do it for cheaper, and so we paid them to do it. Now they won't answer the phone. They did it real cheap, but now I've got to come back and I've got to replace stuff and I got to redo all this other things. And it's like, okay, well, over the course of the long, let's say a system is going to operate for 20 years. Over the course of that 20 years, it is less cost to just do it right the first time than it is for trying to just cut all these little corners, because that's just what's going to happen. Like if someone is charging less than the next guy, there's a reason they're charging less. Are they philanthropists? Are they just willing to work for free? Probably not. They're probably doing something or not doing something that the next guy is, and you won't know it. When they're doing the install, they're not going to tell you, hey, I cut this corner, hey, I did this, I didn't do this. You won't know unless it goes wrong. Granted, you're about to be selling, so hopefully you do that, and the next person is the one that'll have to deal with it, and it won't be you. But
I suspect what's happening
that's just how
here
that
is they're going through the process of thinking about selling this place, realizing that the equipment's really old, probably works fine, and thinking that they're going to do a facelift on the equipment as well as the place.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that flipped houses are gilded turds typically, because you're
yes,
making it look good, but you're not doing good work.
Yes.
Because good work doesn't pay in a flipped house.
Yes.
And unfortunately, spending any money on HVAC when the HVAC works doesn't come back if you're a flipper.
Yep.
Yeah, and getting people that are good at what they do, doing things on the sides normally not their thing. And even some small companies that do a lot of basic equipment, they would be cheaper. But when it comes into like inverter equipment, like Goodman even has a version. It's made by Daikin, by the way. They have a version of that fit equipment that you could purchase much cheaper. But getting someone to install it properly is a problem. Because even some small companies, like for instance, my brother had put a system in, and he's self-employed, him and one other person. And basically I had to go commission and wire the system for him as a favor, because he got himself in a position to where he was going to lose money on a job. He was over his head, and I didn't charge him anything to do it. But if he didn't have, a brother that was willing to do that, he'd have been in bad shape. So he would have had to hire a company to come in and finish commissioning. And it was a pain in the butt. So, but I'm, you may be able to find somebody to do it. It's just,
if the equipment
you're better
works,
off going with a cheap company.
If the equipment works, don't fix it. Flip that house and sell it the way it is, and
yeah,
because anybody that knows anything about HVAC that comes in and looks at a crappy install, that the old equipment would have made the place worth more to them than the new equipment. They're going to do a deduct for the new equipment, because they're going to be like, oh, this brand new equipment, this person thinks this brand new equipment adds value to this place. They think it adds $5,000 worth of value. So I got to offer them $10,000 less. As and by the way, they just showed me that all the other work they did in here is questionable. Done with questionable quality and questionable sophistication. So you got to be real careful. If you don't need to replace HVAC before you're selling your house, don't do it.
Yeah.
It's just the stuff to get really good HVAC is very expensive.
I get offers to do work like that all the time, and I decline doing it. So.
Oh yeah.
And I can make good money quick doing it. It's just.
Yeah. There was one, this was a few years back, of it was a realtor situation where she was buying a house to flip, and she reached out to me, and when she was telling me, I want you to come out and give me a quote, blah blah blah, and she was telling me what she was doing, I was just like, okay, so what is it that you want? Like you're wanting me to come and give you a quote on replacing equipment. And then I forgot how I worded it, but I asked something like, is this one of those situations where you're really looking for someone to do it for as cheaply as possible? And she was like, oh yeah, well, I thought you just worked for somebody and you did work on the side. And I was like, no, that's that, if I come do work for you, I'm going to have to put my name on it. And for me to do a good job, it's not going to be the number that you're looking for. And so she was like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to do anything. And funny enough, the house was right across the road from my grandmother's house. And then my grandmother was telling me probably 3 months later of how they had somebody come out. They replaced the system, did all the work they were wanting for the price they were wanting. And the new owners had bought the house and moved in, and they were having just all kinds of problems. Like it was breakages. I don't know. I can't remember all the complaints they had. There's like, but they could smell the crawl space from the house, like just a bunch of problems. And they were in a fight for months over that HVAC system. And it's like
the seller,
that's what you get.
The buyer went after the seller.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
it
the
happens
seller
a
was
lot.
yes.
In that situation, you're better off negotiating with the seller so that the buyer can choose the system they want and they will be responsible for it.
Yes, that's the way. That's the way to do it. If they don't have the money to replace the equipment, but the equipment needs to be replaced, then give them a credit, let them pick the system that they want, and you pay whatever your credit portion is of that system.
Yeah. Which I will say, for me, like when I see these, especially realtors that like to buy and sell flip houses, and they want to do it that way. It really does make me laugh when I get to watch it just go completely sideways on them, and they're shithole of a house that they just faked a bunch of money into to make it look better than what it actually is, and they get burnt. That makes me happy. I love it every time that happens because I just don't like those people.
they're the chiselers. They're always the chiselers.
Yes.
There's a big realtor who owned a real estate company here, who bought a lot of distressed houses during COVID, and he ended up going bankrupt.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So this is a good way. Yeah. As with, what does it say for the way to make $1 million in cattle
is inherit $2 million.
Start with 5 million.
Yeah. So anyway, this leads nicely into sort of this checklist for the sales process, which I'm hoping you guys have seen and thought about. And if you have any additions, now would be a good time to add. So the checklist at the end, after, when you get down to the static pressure question, and there's the sign off, we're going to have a checklist of these things that were offered to you besides the static pressure. Is that making sense? So a thorough calculated load calc, which would be via the Comfort Consult. And we're going to talk about the difference between calculated and estimated load calc. So like likely load range is an estimated load calc. So also at every job, offer to talk to them about a heat pump, then offer to talk to them about a hybrid, then offer to talk to them about dehumidification, offered to talk about fresh air, offered to talk about better filtration, data logging, which would include, air quality, humidity, radon, indoor and outdoor temperature, etc. Explanation of sizing issues and the difference between calculated sizing and estimated sizing.
Does anybody monitor radon here?
We've got a what is it, an air things or a air something or other that will do radon. We did a test for our house and we came in borderline. We're old enough, we're not going to die from it, so we don't care.
Yeah, and if you pressurize the house, typically, if you're borderline, the pressurization takes it down because it usually is coming out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so you pressurize the house, and it makes it harder for it to come out of the ground. So the rest of this is sort of I get into the weeds a little bit about the discussion of estimated load calc and the option of measure quick. I think they need explanation, and so I've put some explanation. I don't know. What do you guys think? Discussion of estimated load calc via likely load range, and an explanation that sizing toward the red or yellow in likely load range increases the risk of needing duct replacement. And the risk of the system will have common problems associated with oversizing, such as short cycling. Sizing towards the green reduces the risk of duct replacement being required, but on the hottest and coldest days may expose deficiency in the home's thermal envelope that need improvement. So it's sort of a catch-22 on either side, but the catch-22 on leaning towards the green is, well, if your house is a little bit broken, fix it.
I think that was well put.
Thank you. Those wishing to reduce risk of needing duct replacement need to size equipment so that it does not exceed the duct capacity. And this goes back to Jason Cecil and his sizing the equipment to the ductwork.
Mm-hmm.
And then offer the option of having a measure quick report after installation. Problem we've run into is our process sells outcomes, and as free quote process helps shift responsibility for equipment size and features choices to the homeowner, we recognize a way to shift responsibility for install quality from the salesperson to the installation crew. Measure Quick seems to fit this bill.
It's also nice what Jason said here. Measure Quick will let you know the capacity of this existing system, providing to the space if it's operating. So say they have a 4-ton unit and it's operating at 3-ton capacity, and they're concerned about going in the green and dropping to a 3-ton, that would help give them reassurance that,
3 tons what you've been living with, and if it's worked, it's worked.
Yeah,
that's right. And then the odds of them having issues moving forward, as long as it's installed properly, are less likely for sure.
Well, and then the salesperson can also do the Measure Quick report after the install. And if there are issues with the install, he can say to the business owner, look, these complaints that this homeowner has don't have any relationship to what I sold them. Yeah. It has to do with how your install crew screwed up.
Mm-hmm. Which again, I feel like is a good thing. Because even though like a good company like ours, in some cases, everything doesn't get commissioned properly. So,
yeah. Mondays and Fridays are probably not the best equipment days.
Yeah. So, but it's again, so it doesn't matter how good or how reputable the company is. There's a chance that, and if you're buying a $20,000 system, then this is one way to make sure that it's working properly. Which we offer a peace of mind courtesy visit, but all of our technicians aren't equipped to do this, but a lot of them are.
So does everybody feel like this is a pretty good checklist?
Yeah, it's a great checklist.
Yeah, I think so.
Jason, Mr. Wise Asses.
he is right though.
Yeah. Well, Monday nights tend to be 50-cent shot night, so Tuesdays
Yeah,
are
so-
probably bad.
They could be. You're right.
Wednesday is hump day.
Got to celebrate the hump. Okay, so I'm going to be working with Eric on this, and we'll figure out how to get it put in.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you guys can maybe try it and let me know if you come up with improvements.
I know I did a comfort consult recently and did I used my TrueFlow grid, and I mean the TrueFlow report was enough to get him to decide to make duct adjustments. Oh, that alone, he was ready to roll. I sent him the report, showed him what was going on, and we're doing like $13,000 worth of ductwork at that house.
Nice.
3-year-old system in this house.
Yeah, I have a feeling TrueFlow, in the hands of somebody very qualified, who has a lot of knowledge about ductwork, is a wonderful tool.
That's the
And it
first time
seems-
I ever used it. I've never took it. It was brand new. Never had it out of the package. I learned how to use it at that house.
That's neat.
It's an awesome tool, man.
I know. I mean, it's already paid for itself. I mean,
Yeah.
the commission I get from that job basically pays for the TrueFlow.
Yep. The other thing that I use it for is cleaning a blower wheel. You'll be astonished at how much improvement you get even on a dusty blower wheel. I've had a 30% airflow improvement just by cleaning a dusty blower wheel.
That's crazy.
It is.
They've always said a 1/16 of an inch on the wheel will make a huge difference. That's enough to convince somebody to put a media filter on their system or something. You know what I mean?
Yep. I've got before and after tests I can share with you if you want to see them, Ronnie.
Yeah.
What did you use? Did you use nitrogen to blast the dust off, or what'd you do?
Pulled the blower out, took it outside, blasted it with water.
Okay.
That's the way to do it.
It was just dust.
Yeah.
Clean the blower housing, clean the blower wheel. And I thought I'd miswired the blower when I put it back in. It was so noisy. We went from a if memory serves, 0.4 static pressure to a 0.8.
So it was a PSC motor?
No.
It was probably a torque,
not a
it's probably
PSC.
constant torque ECM, like
Yeah.
X13.
And it was so loud when I put it back in that I thought I'd miswired it.
Oh my God, you had to apologize.
I
Had
took
to drop the blower speed probably.
I took a picture of the blower speed of the wiring before I took it out and verified that it was the same. We actually achieved the airflow that we needed for the 3.5 ton system. We only had about 730 CFMs to begin with, and we went up to 1120 or something or other, as I recall.
Holy cow.
Now they have humidity issues.
I was, yeah.
It's crazy.
And if you measure it and document it, nobody can argue with you.
No, I get it. That's great. Well, and I'll have us do the changes to his duct system, and I'll run my TrueFlow on it again.
Yeah.
It was a crazy install though, Ken. They actually put this furnace on a riser box and then didn't take the bottom out of the furnace. And then the air filter is just attached to the side of the furnace. It's not on the riser. They just used the box to get it off the floor. That was the whole.
Oh, okay.
And it's a 2-speed Amana system.
That was dumb. They should have put it on, airflow through the bottom anyway.
I know. We're fixing it.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope FYT hears all of these crazy errors and understands how
Yeah.
Yeah,
First
and that was
it is
that
out
was a
there.
company that did that, but or I guess it was. There's no inspection sticker, so I guess it could have been Chuck in a truck or whatever,
Right.
or your buddy on the side or whatever.
Once we learned that's what he was going to do, I don't think we should have spent that much time on it.
Well, so the conclusion recommendation is whatever he does, offer the option of having request measure quick after the install.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have that be part of the install. Is if you buy a system from somebody, require a measure quick report after the install, because it'll tell you if they installed it well.
Well, I mean, if they're going to sell the place and they're adamant on replacing the equipment, just get the company that does it for the cheapest and just be done with it. They're selling it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I wouldn't ask for an itemized nothing. I would just get I'd get 10 quotes, and whoever's cheaper, have them do it and be done with it. Just say, hey, I want it done by the book. That's what needs to be done. And if your area has code enforcement and requires inspections, have it inspected. That way there's no question when you sell it. And
yeah, you don't want them suing you after it's sold.
100%.
That story is not pleasant.
No. And I have a homeowner right now that had all this HVAC work done. There's no inspections. It was subpar work, a bunch of it. They'd actually signed a contract to fix a lot of it for almost $20,000 for me. And then they found somebody to do it cheaper. The other company came and did it cheaper. And I got an email the other day from an attorney wanting me to send all my documentation. And I said, well, we didn't do any work for this homeowner. I don't know what you mean by documentation. And they said, yeah, here's your sold contract. And I said, yeah, and they canceled that. They did the work with this company. I gave them the name of the company that actually did the work. But I'm assuming it did not pan out the way they wanted it to, or they would not be.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
They would not be doing what they're doing now. So, and again, the company that did the work was a decent enough company as far as I know. That's, but still,
not up to the task.
Not up to the task. And again, these people didn't want to test their house, offered to do it actually was turned over from another salesperson to me. And that person said that they did not want responsibility on this job, that they weren't qualified to do it. And they gave the job to me. And
you dodged that one.
Yeah.
Having been called to court as an expert witness against somebody else.
I told them I would be happy to do so for $250 an hour. I would appear and talk to them. So, and they didn't get back with me after that.
I'll be your expert witness.
Yep.
I mean, my time's not free. So again, I'm not going to go and do it for nothing.
Yeah. It's time people started treating us like professionals.
Yeah, and if they would have did work with our company, I might have considered. I would at least gave them the information that I had, but they didn't do any work with us, so
they weren't your customer.
They were not. Yeah, it was funny. The lady sent the email like, "Yeah, this is the work you did." I said, "We didn't do any of that work." They're like, "Sure you did." I was like, "Show me a paid invoice." Because there wasn't one, so then I turned over to our our office, and they told me to stop talking to them, so I stopped talking to them.
Yeah, talking to lawyers is not a good thing.
Mm-hmm. But that's the kind of stuff that happens when you save a couple bucks sometimes. Not always. You might get lucky. You might be one of the lucky ones. You might find the right person.
Yeah,
in most cases you won't.
What was the term? They were managing costs.
Yeah.
So they managed their costs, and it came back and bit them.
Yeah.
Big time.
And now they're suing the person they bought the house from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming. let's end the stream. Have a little bit of after hours, and Jason, if you want to jump in. And we'll see everybody in 2 weeks.
See everybody in 2 weeks. Sounds good.
Good night, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea.